Hello and welcome to this video tutorial from Computergaga.com, and in this video we are going to look at 5 simple techniques to make your Excel charts pop. How can you take your charts beyond the standard charts that others are creating? Now in this first example, we want to look at how we can highlight specific values in a chart. And there are many reasons why we might want to do this. We might want to make a specific product pop on the chart so it's easy to notice in our charts. We may want to see which ones have hit some kind of target or some kind of threshold. In this example, we want to see which products have outsold the previous week. Have they improved in their sales? I've got a chart on screen at the moment charting the current week's values. It's a very basic chart, but we want to change the colour of those columns that improved from last week. So let me delete this chart. Now we're going to go through this and some of the other examples in this video fairly quickly, so you can find other videos I've done on my channel that may go into more depth, but we're not going to hang around here. It's going to be hopefully pretty short and sweet. So in column D, we need a conditional column. I'm just going to call it highlight ? And in it, we're going to write an if function that will test whether the sales have improved or not. So simple little if function here. Is the value from this week greater than or equals the previous week? If it is, we're going to show the value from this week, cell C2. And if it's not, we're going to use the NA error to show an NA value, because Excel charts do not plot NA values. So it's our way of saying, don't show this one, don't worry about it. Close bracket for if, run the function, I get a #NA because this week's value is not bigger than the previous week. But if I drag it down, that is true for 3 of those product values. I can then highlight my product labels, highlight this week's value and whether it should be highlighted or not, holding down the control key as I selected, and I will create a simple column chart. And here we go. You can see all 5 product columns for this week, but only 3 for the highlighted one because the NA error message is not plotted. Now what we're going to do though is double click on the highlight one. Doesn't really matter what one you double click on. I just want to open the Format Data Series pane on the right hand side so that I can change the series overlap to 100%. And as soon as I do that, the columns overlap, so it gives the impression of some kind of conditional formatting. And it looks like those that improved from last week have automatically changed colour to orange, which is actually incorrect. Is actually different columns, but it gives us that visual. I can then maybe remove my legend at the bottom. I can improve the chart title to maybe this week's sales, and I could go on and make other improvements, but I don't want to get too sidetracked by that kind of stuff in this video. All I'm showing here is that we can set a criteria, any criteria, and then we can get some data points in our chart to change color to reflect that. And I've used an if function here, so you can write any if function for any condition that you feel you would like to pop on your chart. In this example, we are going to look at a couple of techniques for quickly applying a consistent color scheme across your charts. You can also do this for your fonts and other formatting, but I want to focus on colour in this example. Now we've got 3 basic column charts for this demonstration. They could be other chart types. And I want to begin by using themes. So if I click on the page layout tab at the top, we have themes on the far left, and I'm going straight into the colour section, where as I hover over these inbuilt themes, you can see it apply the colour scheme to all of the charts. Now you may not be happy with these, but you can see the fact that it's applying it consistently across your entire dashboard or report. But if I wanted something specific, I could come into customize colors at the bottom and look at creating my own theme. So I could give it a name. Maybe I'm working for the sales team here. I'll call it sales. And I'm just going to set up a color for accent 1, accent 2, and accent 3. Let me come into accent 1, more colors. And I'm going to set some RGB values that I'm imagining that my company use. This is their brand image. They've supplied these values. They want these specific values, not just any blue or any orange. Now the first one I've been given is 254 for red. It's 158 for that, and then it's 89. And you can see it's this style of orange, and I'll click OK, and I'll come into accent 2, and I'll set up the next lot of RGB values of 91, 124, and then I have 142. And here's my next color. And then lastly, I've got one more to apply in this fictional example. This one is 225 by 217 and then by 198. And these are colors that not only for charts, but they'll be accessible in other borders and fills and font areas that I might be using in my spreadsheets. But I've set up these specific types of kind of orange, bluey color and kind of creamy color. I can then save that theme and it's applied. And that specific orange that I said in accent 1 has been assigned to all 3 charts, keeping them consistent in appearance and allowing it easily for me to apply in the future as well, because up in my colors button there is my sales theme and it's applied. And if on my home tab I went for a drop down for things like a fill color, is set at the top there. I can see my accent 1 orange, my accent 2 kind of bluey color, and my accent 3 kind of tan, kind of creamy color. So that is one really useful technique. But let's look at something else, because on my data sheet I've got this other chart, and look at that. It's already got the theme assigned. It's for the entire workbook. When I changed it for the others, I changed it for this too. But maybe in my consistent color sheet, maybe I'm going to assign a different color. Let me select some columns, let me come into something, and maybe going a little bit outside the box, I'm going to use this tan one, and that has been assigned. Now if I suddenly want that on my other chart, I could right click and copy from that chart, come over to the other chart I want to assign it to, paste, drop down on home, paste special, formats only, click OK. And look at that, that exact same color is applied. So themes is a great way of getting that consistency, and it's very easy and can work in the future. Also the entire workbook if you've got more than one dashboard. But you've also just got the ability to copy and paste formats between charts. And even if you're not using themes, I can quickly replicate a chart's format that I've already been dealing with and working with in a different chart. In this third example, we are going to look at how to create an interactive chart. Now I have this data sheet with some similar values to what we've been seeing in this video. I've got 3 places, London, New York, Paris, 5 products and some fictional sales values. Maybe on a dashboard, I would like the user to interact as to what location are they looking at the sales for. Is it London? Is it New York? Is it Paris? And there's different ways we can provide that selection. A drop-down list would probably be the most common. I want to demonstrate it using option buttons. Now what we're going to do is create a second data source, which is going to be the variable one based on what they choose. So let me start just by copying some of these values. I'm going to take a copy of these values here, A1 to B6, I'm just going to click and drag them down whilst I hold the control key, so I can drop them into A10 here, and then delete what's in column 2 actually. I didn't really need that. That's going to be the variable side. Still going to be a product, still those 5, but what location? And we'll be using a formula there. Before we get to the formula though, we need option buttons. Let me come over to the interactive chart sheet, which I'm pretending would be our amazing report or dashboard. At the moment it has nothing and will not be looking amazing by the end of this, but you can imagine the rest of it. Now I need this developer tab at the top. If you do not see a developer tab, right mouse click your ribbon, customize the ribbon, and you'll see a developer option on your right hand side. Let me scroll down. Oh no, don't need to scroll down, there it is. It's selected about halfway in my list. Let me cancel that, I already have it. Developer tab, insert button, which is around halfway along that. And in the form controls, I'm going for an option button. Let me click on that, and I'll just click to dump it onto the sheet. I'm not going to worry too much about how it looks. I'm then just going to quickly do a similar copy technique, well not similar, the same copy technique with my control key with those 3 option buttons. Let me also use control so I can select all 3 at the same time, and in the format tab I'm going to align them, as mentioned previously, going at a fair pace through this, and then just going to come into each one and change it so it actually says something nice to look at, rather than what it says at the moment. Option button 4 for all of them. Right click, edit text, this one can be London. Right click, edit text, this one, New York. And right click, edit text, last to come is Paris. Don't know if they're aligned, I think I may have moved them a bit, but I've got these 3 and I can interact with them. But what we now need is when somebody chooses London or New York or Paris, I need their selection stored somewhere. Let me right mouse click on London to select it, and then holding control select New York and Paris as well. Right mouse click, format object, and in here we need to specify what cell to store the selection in. So we have this cell link. Click in cell link over to the data sheet, and I'll just dump it in cell A8 here. We can store this wherever we want, but I want it away from the report, so I'm putting on this data sheet where I'll have all my calculations and my lists and stuff that people don't want to see, but it is driving what's happening. I'll click OK, and now if I did choose London and come over to data, it says number 1 in A8. And if I come over and choose Paris, over to data, it says number 3. So that's going to store 1, 2 or 3 depending on the selection from the option buttons. Now let's put our formulas in to have that variable data. Now the formula I'm going for is choose. There are lots of formulas we could use here. You know, I could use an index, I could use an if function, but I'm going for the choose function. Index number, A8, comma, the value. Now I need to actually make A8 absolute. Let me just go back and press my F4 key to get the dollars in. Back over to value 1 argument. That's going to be the title, value 2 the other title, value 3 the next title. Close bracket, enter, click and drag that down. That will happen a bit quick, so let me reopen the formula for you to look at. But this is going to choose the value from either B1 or C1 or D1 depending on the index number in A8. And that index number is driven from the option buttons on the report sheet, our interactive chart sheet. Now I've copied that down so that this is happening. It's currently got Paris because it's index value 3 in there. Let me select those values I've created, that data range, and insert a lovely column chart. Look at that with my theme from the previous. And let me move this chart button up on the design tab to the interactive chart sheet. In it comes, and here we go. And if I was to choose New York, it changes to New York values. And if I choose London, it changes to London values. And Paris, back to Paris values. Whatever somebody chooses from the option button, this interactive element is driving what data is shown in our charts. And there's lots of interesting ways we can do this. I'm changing what data is shown. We can use it to plot various values like we looked at in the first example of this video, but we can drive it through this interactivity instead. We can turn data series on and off. Lots of interesting settings. This is an example for now, though, to open your eyes if you've never seen this kind of stuff before. Now in this fourth example, we're going to get a little bit smarter with our charts labeling. So I've got a few labels in this chart already. I've got these axes along the bottom, the category axes. I've got a pretty basic chart title. I don't have any data labels at the moment, and that's where I want to begin. But there are very clever ways that we can change what labeling is shown rather than the static and standard labeling that you get on all charts. Now to begin with, I've written a quick formula in column D here that is showing the difference between this week and last week. And I want to show those values in my chart. So let me select my chart, and I'm going to use the little plus button on the right hand side, into data labels, and then more options. So it opens up on the right hand side, and it puts by default the values that's being plotted at the moment. But on the right hand side there is a setting for value from cells, which I believe first appeared in Excel 2013, so hopefully all of you watching will have that setting. But it's not been around forever, so if you're using something like 2010 we have to look at other techniques, which I'm not going to show in this video, but you can certainly find online. Now I'm going to tick value from cells. It will prompt me for a range, and I'll simply select the range of values which have the percentage increase or decrease in them. When I click OK, they're shown, but in addition to the values. So let me uncheck the box for the value, because maybe I don't want them both. And look at this. Here we have what we want. That's very useful. I can see the increase or decrease at a glance from the previous as a label on here. Bear in mind the values that we can see above the chart in the real report probably wouldn't be there. There'd just be this chart. So it's great to see that product E outsold product D, for example. But in addition to that, we can see, did it improve from last week? And we can see product E was a massive improvement. Product D actually got worse. So we're getting more from our charts. Now we're going to expand on that example in the next and final one. But just before I get to that and expand on those labels, let us also look at the chart title, because we can improve that too. Now in a cell, I want to create a better chart title. I would like to simply show the total value. So I can see the product sales, but how about the total sales overall? So in here, any cell, I'm going to type equals, and I'm going to start with some simple text. Just saying this week's total sales, colon space, close that off, ampersand to concatenate. And then I'm going to put, well, I'm simply going to add them up really. I'm just going to put a sum function in and sum this week's values, close bracket. And if I press enter, this is what we get. This week's total sales 1131. And this will do as a demonstration for now, but you could use a function called text. I'll put a link in the description of this video because I've done one on the text function before, and we can use that to format numeric values when in text like this, because I may want to make it look like money or like a percentage, or depending what values we're dealing with. To finish this off though, click on my chart title, up into the formula bar, equals, reference the cell that's got the title I want to use. I press enter, that is shown. I've now got a more useful chart title than before. I've customized the text away from the source data, and I've performed a function like a sum or an average or anything else we want. So we're taking our labeling beyond the standard. We're using dynamic and smart labeling techniques. Now in this final example, we are going to look at using some symbols and other more special techniques with our data labels. We're going to look at some custom number formatting to do it. Now what I would like is just to emphasize the increase and decrease a little bit more. The only indicator at the moment with a decrease is the little hyphen, the minus sign before it, which is visible, but it's not that clear. So what I would like to do is, with the values that I have in this difference column, these are being used as the labels in the chart. So if I use my Control 1 keyboard shortcut, which will open Format Cells and come into the custom area to create a custom format. And what I'd like to do is, in this type box, create my own format. Now I'm going to begin by opening up a set of speech marks here, some double quotes, and then what I'm going to do is type a keyboard shortcut. I'm going to hold down my Alt key and, using the number pad on my keyboard, type 30, and that puts this up arrow symbol in there. I can then close off my speech marks. The first bit in custom number formatting are your positive values. So I'm saying the positive value should be shown as an increase. Now after that, let me actually put a little space before that closing speech mark, and then after the space a 0 and a percentage sign. Show it as a percentage. I can then put a semicolon, which moves into what negative values can look like. You can see similar examples in the list underneath where I'm typing at the moment, but I've made them look red and showed negatives. Now I'm going to do that too, so I'm going to put an open square bracket. I'm going to type red and the closing square bracket, show it in red, then an opening speech mark, hold down my Alt key, and with the number area 31, and that puts a negative sign, space closing speech mark. And then what I will also have is an open bracket, minus sign 0%, closing bracket. I want that value to look more like a negative. So this is just an example at the moment. I can see a sample above where I am at the moment, which is beginning to take shape too with my 62%. Remember, in this video we are going through quite quickly. You can find lots of information on these techniques online. I just want to do a quick demonstration, but I am showing you through just at a fair pace. If I click OK, that is applied, and it's also applied to the chart as well. I can see I either have that up or that down arrow set, and also the brackets and the minus sign. So it's much clearer now whether something is a positive or a negative. Now I did that using the values in the cells. You can also provide custom formatting in the labels directly. If I did double click on a value, so it opens up on the right hand side, there is a number section, and in here we can start looking at creating our own format codes here as well, whereas I did it directly into the cell values, and that may be something of interest to you. But this is just a demonstration for now, taking our labeling, taking our charts beyond the standard. I hope you found this video useful. Please check out some of our other video tutorials on our YouTube channel, and come check us out at Computergaga.com.